Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to YouTube for yet another YouTube video. This video may be one of my most controversial by far. I have taken the liberty of compiling a list of some of the ugliest guitars ever created, and we're going to go ahead and rank them all into a tier list. Now before we get going, I want to say that these guitars were picked on the basis of being guitars that people just generally find ugly. If you look up the ugliest guitars ever made, these guitars are going to be mentioned somewhere in that consideration. Now as far as the ranking of the actual tier list, the S tier, which is at the top, is going to be the least ugly of the ugly guitars. These are guitars that I maybe don't even really think are that ugly and I would actually maybe consider owning. And the F tier is the worst of the worst, utter abominations, should have never been made, and then everything else in between. So without any further ado, let's get this show on the road. So first and foremost, we have the Ibanez Gem 2K DNA. Now the Ibanez Gem itself is a guitar that a lot of people don't like because it has bright flashy colors and they think it looks a little bit tacky, but the Gem 2K DNA is a limited edition version of the Gem where each guitar is hydro dipped, so they all have a different pattern to them. And I think Steve Vai also put his blood into the paint, which that's kind of where the DNA thing comes from. A little bit of a weird concept, but I think this guitar is actually pretty neat. I don't think I would personally own one because of the price tag and because it is a little bit much for me, but I think it's cool enough to earn it a solid A tier. Next up we have the Dean split tail guitar, which is kind of like a really horrendous combination of an SG and a Flying V type of thing. I personally think it looks awful. I'm really not a fan of it. Heavy consideration for F tier right here, but I think I'm going to put it in D. And while we're at it, we're also going to rank the Zakk Wylde guitar that looks very similar. Same atrocious body style. Kind of looks like Patrick from the SpongeBob movie when he has the tights on. That's a really obscure reference, but either way, still not a fan. I think the finish makes it look a little bit cooler than the split tail, so I'm going to put it in front of the split tail, but still definitely D tier. Next up, we got the ESP Action, but it's spelled with two X's. Obviously has a very weird, bizarre, asymmetrical body shape. It looks kind of blobby and sharp at the same time. The lower horn sticks out really far, and also just all the contours and everything on it look very strange. Honestly, I think this one is worthy of an F tier. Okay, next up we got the Gibson Firebird X. In my opinion, the shape of these guitars are very gross and unsightly. It kind of looks like you left it in your car in 100-degree weather and the guitar just melted. But I will say the one redeeming characteristic is going to be the finishes, because I think both the red and blue finishes look really cool. I would never personally spend my money on one, but I will say that it's better than the split tail, so I think C tier is fair. Okay, next up we have the Fender Katana. This is a very limited run Fender guitar. It's extremely rare. It was one of Fender's attempts to kind of step into the modern guitar world. I used to really not like the shape of it, but it has grown on me quite a bit. And realistically, I don't think it's all that bad now, so I feel like I want to go A tier. Alright, next up in the same vein, we have the Fender Performer. Another very rare, very limited run Fender guitar. It is kind of a cool guitar, but I'm just really not a fan of the body style on this one. I'd probably rather have the Katana over this thing, so we're going to go with B tier. Next up we have the Gibson Corvus. Some people refer to this guitar as the can opener because it looks like a can opener. Honestly, I think this could be a pretty cool guitar if it didn't have that weird cutout thing on the bottom. The reason for this originally was because it was supposed to be a headless guitar. The original prototypes had the tuners actually down there at the bottom of the body, but the headless part of the design was rejected, so it ended up just being a normal guitar that looked really weirdly shapen. Now, I do think it's a pretty ugly guitar, but I will say that this color of blue, very pretty. I like it a lot. I think for this one, I'm gonna have to go with A tier. This absolute monstrosity is called the Ibanez Xiphos. Not really a whole lot I can say about this thing. Definitely appeals to a certain audience. I am not that audience, so I personally think it's pretty hideous. It just seems like they're trying to do a little bit too much here, and it doesn't look good. So we're gonna go with D tier. Alright, next up we have the Fender Jag-Stang. Now before you head to the comments, you should know that I'm a huge Kurt Cobain and Nirvana fan. However, Fender really messed this one up. Kurt Cobain's original Jag-Stang design looked like this, and I think it would have looked a lot better like this with more of a Jaguar body shape, instead of trying to make this like weird squished tiny body but like keep the same size pickguard. I don't know, they just did a really weird thing with this. Probably wouldn't spend my money on one, so I'm gonna go with B tier. Okay, so next up, I only have one picture, but this is kind of two guitars bundled into one. It's going to be the Kramer Triax and Enterprise. These are extremely rare guitars. I think the only Enterprises that exist are like prototypes. Probably for good reason though, because they are truly horrendous. It kind of seems like the designers were like, let's just see how many shapes we can fit into one guitar. Just overall not good, so Kramer Enterprise / Triax is going F tier. Alright, next up we have the Dan Electro Longhorn Bass. Now I will say, say, this green color is actually pretty cool. I do like it. However, the bass itself is an utter atrocity. It's so gigantically bulbous. This is definitely going to be another F tier for me. Okay, next up we have the Machine Gun Kelly signature Schecter guitar, which is designed to look like a razor blade. Why he thought that would be cool, I don't really know. Maybe it's supposed to be like an edgy thing, no pun intended there. But in my opinion, just kind of comes off as really kind of tacky and cringe. We're gonna go F tier. So next up we have the PV-T series, specifically here the T60. There's a lot of people that aren't huge fans of these because they just look very wide and sort of inflated, but I'm a huge fan. I really like them a lot. I especially like the T60 in a natural wood finish. I think it just looks so cool. I would definitely own one of these, so it's going S tier. Next up we have the Gibson Modern. This is considered to be one of the rarest Gibson guitars, and it's kind of just like a flying V if it went horribly wrong. Also, just for the headstock alone, I hate this guitar. Seriously, what is this? I'm not gonna go F tier with it, but I'm just gonna put it at the start of D tier. Alright, so the Parker Fly is a guitar that gets a lot of hate. People say it's really ugly, and I understand where they're coming from, okay? I'm not gonna say I don't understand why people think it doesn't look good, but I personally have always really liked the Parker Fly. One of people's biggest gripes with the guitar is the headstock. I think it looks really cool. I also think the colors that they made them in, especially this blue color, were really cool. I would definitely own one if I can get my hands on one, so we're going S tier. Next up we have the Fender Swinger. This is also sometimes referred to as the Fender Arrow because of the headstock. This is a guitar that was only made in 1969. It was marketed as a student model guitar, but I don't even really think they marketed it or put it in any of their catalogs. So just a pretty weird one, but as a Fender history nut and Fender fanboy, I would definitely probably own one of these guitars, so I'm gonna go S tier. That might be a hot take, but I think they're kind of cool. Next up we have the Padula MVP bass. This looks kind of like the jellyfish from SpongeBob. Very weirdly blobby and droopy, sort of looks like a lava lamp a little bit also. I personally am also just not really a fan of these type of finishes. I don't know what you call this. Just like the split color with like the transparent style finish. I don't know, I'm just not a fan. Yeah, I would never own one of these things ever, so we're gonna go D tier. So you may have not heard of most of these guitars before, but I tried to keep them from getting too obscure. This one you probably have definitely not heard of though. It's from a company, I think called Relish Guitars. I think this one is like the Jane something or other. Boggles my mind kind of what they were thinking with this body shape. It sort of looks like if somebody was trying to sculpt a piece of wood to look like a Les Paul and then they just gave up halfway through. Just really weird overall, and I think when you try to make a guitar that's too round, it never looks good. So we're also gonna go D tier with this one. So I personally am not a huge fan of flying Vs as it is, but as if it couldn't get any worse, now we have an upside down flying V. But it's kind of a mind bender because when you think about it, the flying V actually is an upside down V. So maybe the reverse V is the normal V. Some food for thought there. Either way, I don't really know why you'd want to own this. It just seems like more of a novelty thing that they did just for fun. Not a good design by any stretch of the imagination, so we're gonna go F tier. So it was hard to pick just one BC Rich guitar. If I could put them all in F tier, I certainly would. The cult following that BC Rich has really always boggled my mind. I just don't get it, but I just kind of selected this one because it's particularly atrocious. It's the BC Rich B Legacy or something like that. I mean, what are we thinking here? Like, I just don't understand what is the thought process behind why you would make a guitar that looks like this. I mean, if people are buying them, whatever, but I think it's the ugliest thing ever, so F tier. Alright, next we got the Music Fox Space Ranger. It seems like when they were designing this one, they had a pretty normal looking guitar and then they just decided to totally mess it up with this weird protruding horn thing, and then the headstock is just awful, like maybe one of the worst headstocks ever. However, I will say it's not as offensive as some of the other ones, so we're just gonna go C tier. Alright, this one is the Ernie Ball Music Man St. Vincent. Really, really atrocious, honestly. I had not heard about this guitar until quite recently. I do like this color of blue, but I hate just about everything else. I'm gonna put it D tier, but I'm gonna put it after the Gibson Modern. Alright, so next up we have this Steinberger GL. I think it's like a GL2 or something. Steinbergers were some of the earliest headless guitars made for like the, modern metal prog rock musicians. I'm personally just not a fan of anything headless guitar related. I think the Steinbergers kind of look almost like a MIDI guitar or like a weird keytar kind of thing. I don't think they're the worst thing ever though, so I'm gonna go with B tier, surprisingly. Alright, now we got the Teisco Spectrum 5. Now there's a lot of haters out there for this guitar, but this is genuinely one of my favorite guitars ever. The colored switches on it are just so awesome. I especially like it in the blue finish. Definitely a dream guitar, kind of a holy grail for me. I think I'm gonna go front of S tier actually, just right on top. The king of the ugly guitars, if you will. Alright, next up we have anything Strandberg. Like I said, not a headless guitar guy, and this is even worse, because now we've also put an ugly body style into the mix as well, and when you don't have a headstock, the only thing you have is the neck and the body. Also, this is the worst logo ever of maybe any company on planet Earth. Honestly, just for that logo, I want to put them in F tier, but I'm gonna put them in D tier. Alright, second to last here, we have the Teisco Tulip guitars. I think there's different iterations of these and ones with different pickup configurations and whatnot. I definitely understand the hate and the criticism because they are pretty weird looking, but I've always found them really cool and I've always wanted one. I love the little floral pattern all over the pickguard and everything. Overall, just a really cool vintage Japanese guitar that were very unique, and unique in a good way. I feel like a lot of these other guitars on the list try to be unique and try to be their own thing, but don't really look good at all. So we're gonna go S tier because I would definitely buy one, but it's gonna go at the end of S tier because the other guitars in that category I would definitely buy first. And finally, last but not least, is going to be Prince's whatever this thing is, guitar. Now, once again, gotta preface, I'm a huge Prince fan. He was a genius, one of the best musicians of all time, but like, what is this thing? Maybe one of the ugliest guitars ever. I know there were certain performance purposes on stage or whatever, but I mean, just look at that thing. I just don't understand how anybody would think this looks good. Definitely an F tier. I'm pretty happy with this. This is my final ugly guitars tier list. I'm sure I forgot quite a few guitars out there, and obviously this whole thing is subjective. But either way, I really appreciate you all watching this video. Let me know what your favorite or least favorite ugly guitar is down in the comments below. If you'd like to fill out the tier list for yourself and take a screenshot and send it to me, I put the link in the description to the tier list so you can feel free to do that. I thank you all for watching this video. I appreciate you all, and I will see you in the next video.